The 18 Strong Podcast, episode number 164 with Dr. Harry Sese, aka the Golfing Doc.
How do we fix you? How do we reset your body? And then how do we reinforce it with proper care, proper training? And then it's up to you to show us the results.
Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where you get direct access to the world's greatest experts on training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. Now, here's your host, Jeff Pellizzero.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the 18 Strong Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Pellizzero. I want to thank you for joining me this week. And if this is your first time joining us on the 18 Strong Podcast, just know that this is a place where we like to bring you some of the best and brightest in the world of golf, sometimes outside the world of golf, when it relates to anything regarding your performance, getting you stronger both on and off the course. And that includes fitness, performance, nutrition, mental game, a lot of different areas. And this week we have Dr. Harry Sese, aka the Golfing Doc. He's a chiropractic sports physician and performance coach, specializing in injury rehabilitation and prevention, biomechanics, and performance conditioning. Harry has traveled and taught with the Titleist Performance Institute and is now specifically touring with PGA professionals, most of them whom you would know and recognize their name. Guys like Graham McDowell, Jerry Kelly, Adam Hadwin, Jon Rahm, Andrew Putnam, Kyle Stanley, Kevin Chappell, Michael Putnam. All of these guys are working with the Golfing Doc on their game, on their fitness, on their health, their nutrition. And so in this episode, we talk with Harry, who is also a black belt in Taekwondo. We talked to him about, how he approaches working with these guys, how he keeps them healthy. Some of these guys are on different age spectrums, definitely with Jerry being on the Champions Tour and guys like Jon Rahm just recently coming out of college not too long ago. So they've all got different needs, just as we know every single golfer on the planet has different needs. So we talked with Harry about, what are some of the ways and techniques that he works with these guys? What are their responsibilities when it comes to them taking care of their own health and their performance? And how does he kind of bridge that gap between the body and what they're doing physically with the skill set that they have and what they need to do in order to perform out on the course? And I found it really interesting how the martial arts background that Harry has an impact on the way that he works with his players, both from the physical standpoint of what they need to be able to move properly and control their body, but also from the mental side of things and how that affects the way that they approach the game of golf and how they are on the course, trying to manage themselves around the course. And then we even get into that age-old debate on golfers and strength training and what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, and what Harry sees on the tour that might surprise you regarding some of the guys and whether they should be doing what they're doing or, whether the lifts that they're doing are appropriate and necessary for their golf game, or if it's a little bit more for the aesthetics and vanity purposes. Whatever your opinion is there, it was interesting to talk to Harry regarding that whole situation and what's seen in the locker rooms and the trailers and the different gyms with these touring professionals. So I think you're really going to get an inside look at what goes on tour when working with some of the pro golfers that you see on TV week in and week out. I want to say a quick thanks to our sponsor for this week's episode, the PGA Tour mobile app, which is definitely the easiest way to keep up to date with everything going on the PGA Tour. There's so many events, there's so many days of golf that it's hard to keep up watching or be able to watch with all of our busy schedules. So the PGA Tour mobile app has been definitely the easiest way for me to stay in touch with what's going on, the scores, highlights, watching video. So if you don't have the PGA Tour mobile app yet, not sure what you're waiting for, you can get it on your BlackBerry, your Android, your iPhone, whatever it is. Just go to your respective app store and you can find the PGA Tour mobile app. All right, let's jump into this episode with the Golfing Doc, Harry Sese. Dr. Harry Sese, welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, and thanks for joining me, man.
Hi, Jeff. Pleasure to be on the show. Thank you for inviting me.
You got it. So, your nickname is the Golfing Doc, and I'm curious, and I'm sure the audience is curious. First, kind of how you got that name, and how did you break into? We're going to talk about your stable of golfers that you have, and kind of the year that they've had. But how did you break into working with the tour players that you're working with now?
Kind of started, as far as the Golfing Doc name, that just kind of started because I finished chiropractic college and figured out, hey, what's my niche going to be? I know there's a ton of great chiropractors out there, but how can I make myself a little bit more different than everyone else? And my main background is in martial arts, in Taekwondo specifically. And I played golf just here and there with my dad, my uncle, my high school buddies. And I realized that the movements in martial arts are pretty much the same in golf. So whether I'm hitting a target with my hand or my foot, it's very similar to me hitting a ball with a club, which is just an extension of either my arm or my leg there. So I kind of said, hey, I think I can help golfers quite a bit. And that's what I started to focus in my clinic. And eventually I saw more and more golfers. And the guy once said to me, hey, you're like the golfing doctor. I'm like, I guess so. And I just said, sure, you can just call me the golfing doc. And most people can't say my last name right anyway. So I just call me Doc in the end. And I started doing that. And early back in, let's say, mid or late 2000s, the Titleist Performance Institute, which is known as TPI, kind of came around and started teaching individuals out there from medical professionals to fitness pros, golf instructors, and so forth. And I was in one of the early classes, and I liked what they were doing. I'd taken some other golf injury seminars in the past, and the TPI one was kind of one I stuck with and got along with the instructors. And after a few years, because of the popularity of their program, I actually became an assistant, and I traveled around the country helping Dr. Greg Rose, Dave Phillips, Lance Gill, and myself and Jason Glass, Mark Blackburn. All of us started traveling together. And through that, I started to meet professional golfers, and they'd ask, what do you do? And I'm like, hey, I'm the golfing doc. This is what I do. And through connections through there, I was able to kind of branch into my own little specialty on tour and say, hey, this is what I do. If you're injured or if you want to work on your performance, let me give you a hand, see if I can help you out.
Perfect. And so that's where you've got your shirt on here, Golfletica. That's the name of the company. And that's kind of where Golfletica was born, I assume. So give us a little premise behind, what it is specifically that you guys do when you're on tour. And we'll kind of talk about some of your players as well, but just kind of an overall general synopsis of what Golfletica is.
Yeah, Golfletica is kind of the brand name that my wife came up with for me to use on the road. We've got our clinic here in Bellevue, Washington. It's known as Northwest Sports Performance, but the golfing division itself is known as Golfletica. 90% of the patients we see here at home are golfers, whether they're tour professionals passing through, or they're mini tour players who are trying to make that transition, or junior golfers to recreational golfers. And being on tour, I kind of wanted to have a little brand itself, and that's where we started using the Golfletica brand. Now, it's not just focusing on injury itself. Hey, my back hurts. Can you fix it? We take an overall approach and kind of look at everything from your biomechanics to your physical conditioning to your golf swing, and even a little bit of the mental game. And the Golfletica, we almost define it as it's the art of golf injury and performance. How do we fix you? How do we reset your body? And then how do we reinforce it with proper care, proper training? And then it's up to you to show us the results.
Well, I like that too. In our conversation ahead of time, you kind of mentioned that, we kind of work on their health, we work on their performance, but we also work on them holding themselves responsible for what they're doing and taking what we help them achieve, but they gotta put in the work too.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's great practitioners out there for treatment, physical therapists, chiropractors, massage therapists, and so forth. And you've got great trainers, some who are specific in golf and some who are not, but they know what they're doing. However, in the end, it's really up to the golfer and even just a general patient. It's up to them if they want to get better. So we like to ask everybody, what are your goals? And when we achieve your goals, well, what are your next goals? It's not like we're done. You're not coming in 6 times over the next 12 weeks or 3 times a week for 12 weeks. I got better things to do. I'm sure you have better things to do. But here's the process. Here's what we need to do. And when you get there, let's continue to grow and move forward.
So as far as the players that you're working with now, if you don't mind just kind of listing some of them or all of them that you're working with, because I have some questions, because it's a different range of population of who you're working with age-wise, body wise, things like that. So who are some of the guys
For
for the
sure.
audience?
Yeah, if we start with, let's say the youngest and probably the hottest at the moment is Jon Rahm. He's 22. He graduated from ASU last year, and he just completed his first season on the PGA Tour. With that being said, he's won 2 events already. He won the Farmers Insurance Open back at Torrey Pines earlier this year. And then he won the Irish Open because he decided to also obtain his European Tour card. So with a kid coming like that, ranked 200 something in the world, after his first season, he's now ranked 7th in the world. He's had a pretty crazy year. But yeah, you can see him up there fighting with Dustin Johnson a couple times for first place, but he didn't get those. But there's always next year now. But he's a very emotional, very hot player, which, they might give him a little heck on TV sometimes, but I know everybody loves it. They're just kind of waiting for him, and it adds a lot of excitement to the game.
It's got that Spanish fury in him. I love it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But you know what? That's what makes him a great player. So just keep going with it. Some of my other notables this year is like almost everybody won in the stable. Adam Hadwin, he shot a record 59 earlier this year. The good thing about that one is there's a few others who've shot 59, but he actually did on a par 72 course, which is, it's a full monster right there. But he also had his first win this year. He won the Valspar Championship out in Tampa. And then Kevin Chappell, he's another guy who finally made his breakthrough this year. He won the Valero Texas Open. And we have my oldest player, Jerry Kelly. And Jerry is just finishing up his senior year, or his first year on the senior tour. It's his rookie year. And he's already won twice. Now, the funny part about that is that I've been out to 2 events with him, and those are the 2 events he's won. So
nice. You're like his lucky charm.
He is. He's kind of teasing the other players, saying, hey, I think I need Harry to come out here a little bit more because I've won every time with him. But no, it just happens to work out that way. And any of these guys can win anytime. And I know they've been grinding, some of them for years, like Kyle Stanley. He won back in around 2011, 2012, and he won again this year. Mm-hmm. So I know with someone like him, they're all surprised that he won, but if you actually tracked him over the last couple of years, he's been trending and he's been getting closer and closer. And myself and the rest of the team, we knew it's coming one of these days, and it happened this year. So with everybody, I expect them to have a good upcoming year again. Some of them are overseas right now, back at the grind already. And I'm taking a couple weeks at home, but leaving shortly to go see Jerry, see if we can get a 3rd win out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what is your kind of your travel schedule? What does it look like for you through I'd say the course of the season, but it's like the season never ends really. So it's kind of just hit or miss. And maybe we'll talk about some of the implications of that too. But what does your travel schedule look like?
Yeah, my travel schedule, I actually base it off the player's schedule. I kind of look at which events they're all playing and then try and space it out. So I would say this year I've had to travel probably every couple weeks. I try not to do any back-to-back weeks. I still have my patients back at home that I'd like to see. And then my wife is back home, our puppy. So I want to be able to come home as much as I can. And it's a little difficult with the guys doing so well. It's kind of like, well, we should kind of keep it going. But if I go back to the first statement where I said, they have to commit to taking care of themselves as well. It's part of a program process. They know what to do when I'm not there. So maybe they win when I'm not there. Maybe they do. It doesn't matter. It's an ongoing thing.
And do you do a lot of, when you're there on site, do you do a lot of hands-on stuff with them typically or not? It probably just depends week to week. And then what happens on those weeks that you aren't there? Do you have another person that you trust that kind of steps in?
I've got a couple of colleagues that if there's anything wrong, they can go to them and ask for some help. Otherwise, when I'm there during the week, it's fairly involved during the week. I would say during the first part of the week, practice days, practice rounds, it's generally going to start with me coming in and I'm going to work with everybody and kind of just check them over. All right, let me check out the body. If there's anything that needs to be treated or let's say tuned up, let's work on it right now. Let's try and start the week nice and fresh. Some of them I'll take into the gym and take them through a workout. We don't really want to work out too much towards the later half of the week because they're going to get sore or it's just not part of their routine and they don't feel like working out during competition days. Some of them, they'll have swing issues going on. And for the most part, majority of them have instructors, but they do ask me to help them from the biomechanical sense of things. I don't teach them anything like technique or club face. That's none of my job. But it's like, hey, you're not turning properly from your torso or your hips aren't firing. So let me see if I can fix that or improve that. And sometimes if we're lucky, the instructor is there that week as well, and we can all work together on the range.
If that's the case, say you do find somebody's, they don't look like they normally do. They're just not moving the way that you normally see them move. What are some of the ways that you kind of facilitate that? And also if the instructor's there too, how do you guys work together? I've always been fascinated by, that relationship.
Definitely. If it's something on the range that I can tweak, let's say, hey, you know what, I'm not turning through my upper back or thoracic spine very well. And as maybe I can sometimes do hands-on work right on the range itself. Okay, let me mobilize this joint or let me stretch this muscle out. Now let's see you fire. And the coach might say, hey, that was pretty good. That's working quite well. Or maybe it is working well and the player just doesn't really kind of, oh, wait, how do I do that? And you kind of cue him and show him. And between myself and the coach, now it's actually working. If there's anything major, it's like, all right, we're going back in the locker room and you're going to hop on the table and I'm going to have to try and work this one out here until we get it moving how it needs to move or activating a certain muscle. But we'd like to do that before we get to the range.
Right. Yeah. Give have a little space to actually do your work.
For sure. Yeah.
Working with the different guys. So you've got a guy like Jon Rahm. You've got some of these younger guys like an Adam Hadwin, and then you've got Jerry. What are some of the different needs that these different guys may have based on just age, athleticism that you see on a regular basis?
On a regular basis, I would say someone young like John. He's young. He's healthy. So my goal is just to keep him that way. He's strong. He works out regularly. Let's try and keep the routine up. With someone like Jerry, who's a little bit older, I wouldn't say he's fragile, but his body's a little more sensitive to achiness, soreness. And none of that is really, I'd say, because of age itself. It's because of just the demand to travel. You can have someone like Adam, John, Kevin, who are all at this point of the season itself, even though a new one has started, they're out there literally grinding because they're fatigued. I'm tired. I just want to go home, but I've committed to doing a couple more tournaments and I'm going to keep my word and let me finish. But the body is starting to really just kind of break down, shut down, and it's ready for a good rest. So my job is to try and facilitate and keep them going. Hey, let me do what I can to help you, whether it's me just saying, hey, you're not practicing today, just rest up. Or let's take a look at your diet for a sec here. I need you to clean it up a little bit. Or from your workouts, let's back it up a little bit. And maybe I just need you to do more movement work today or stretching today. And that'll be sufficient.
There's been a lot of talk recently about, we see some of these high profile golfers that get injured and we hear, there's always the correlation of the, that he's a guy that works out and we're seeing these injuries and the guys that work out. How much do you feel the travel schedule and just the length of the season and how much these guys are playing plays into, kind of these injuries that we're seeing and just kind of the general feelings around, golfers and working out and how it's kind of, I feel, been blown out of proportion a little bit in the media?
I would say travel for sure. It's tiring. A lot of guys may talk about things like cortisol levels and stress levels, your ability to recover and things like that. But you know what, on top of it, yeah, we all get tired and our body all fatigues throughout the year, throughout the season. We have to listen to it and take a break when we need to. But the hardest part is that the ones who do hurting themselves, like the ones who do hurt themselves out there, who are doing, let's say, the heavier weight training and such, I'm going to have to say a lot of that is on the player themselves and the trainer. So it's kind of like be smart about what you're doing. myself and some of the other guys who do what we do on the road, we see these certain players out there and they're doing certain exercises and you're just shaking your head. And then a couple of days later and they withdraw because of an injury, you're just now nodding your head like, well, yeah. It's like, come on. I think the biggest thing to remember, especially from the training side, is that everybody's a little different and it all depends what you want to achieve. We tell this to our players, to our patients at home. It's kind of like, what do you want to achieve with your training? Do you want to train for performance, or do you want to train to just get bigger and stronger for aesthetics? Because sometimes working out to be a really, really good golfer and to hit the ball as best you can and to have the greatest conditioning to play the game, the exercises aren't, let's say, sexy. You can be in the gym, but you're not doing the curls for the girls or doing heavy bench presses or things like that. But you know what? You're working for performance and, if you want to use the word, functionality and longevity out there. Because sometimes doing traditional exercises, they're not bad, but they're not necessarily the best for that particular golfer.
Sure. And do you see that? And obviously we're not naming any names or anything like that, but do you see that, sometimes the aesthetic portion of it, I mean, we're all guys, we all like to look good. That definitely takes, and a lot of these guys obviously are younger guys.
Yep.
When I was 20 years old, that was kind of the main point of going to the gym, was looking good.
Yeah.
Obviously they're professional golfers and they know that that's a piece of it, but that is something that you kind of find certain guys kind of falling into that trap.
Oh, absolutely. And it's hard not to blame anybody about that. You're in the spotlight all the time. You're wearing nice golf clothes, everything's nicely fitted. And there is a part where you do want to look good for the fans, and it's part of the job. However, you'll get the other half who don't care what they look like. Yet the funny thing is they work out a lot. They might not be the best representation for fitness and health out there, but you'd be surprised that they work out a lot and they do take care of their body. It's just the aesthetics isn't there. Sure. And they can care less about it.
Well, so. And you mentioned earlier that your background is in martial arts, and there's a lot of similarities that you saw as far as, being able to help the golfer tied in with your background. And you don't often see a martial artist that is a big, bulky guy that does a lot of weights in the gym. How has the martial arts part really impacted the way that you work with the golfers and what you're looking for and how you progress them for some of these more functional movements, as you would say?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest part, first of all, martial art wise, is just the mentality and just the approach of everything. There's no particular set way, especially when it comes to me treating people. There's no particular set way as to how I'm going to treat everybody. There's no cookie cutter. It's kind of like everybody's a little different. You're going to approach each player situation based on kind of what's coming at you. So I kind of take that approach with treatment. I think that tends to work out fairly well. And then when it comes to training, I can't be fast on my feet if I'm too bulky. And that's more so just the nature of my actual sport, Taekwondo. We're fast with our legs. We're not bad with our hands, but definitely quick with our feet. If we're thick and bulky, we definitely can't fire our hips. We can't throw our weight and transition properly. We can't just generate that fast power. Golfers, same idea. I think that if you're too bulky and too big, then it might affect your swing depending on the individual. But I kind of like to say that, hey, you should only be swinging as fast as you can control your body anyways. So if you're super big and super strong and you're just going to try and crank that club and hit the ball as hard as you can, well, it's probably going to go a lot shorter than you think. And that's the same with us trying to hit or punch or something like that. We're not going to be very tense or stiff. We're going to be very relaxed and fluid, but it's just that very end point where you have maximum power.
Gotcha. It makes a lot of sense. I actually saw a video of you doing a roundhouse kicking a match out of somebody's mouth, not too long ago. You guys have to check that on Instagram. That was pretty impressive. I think you said you do that every year on your birthday or something.
I think that was my birthday kick. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I got to make sure I can still move too. It's like I'm not going to make make someone do something I can't do myself when it comes to the gym or something like that. So
Nice. I want to say a quick thanks to our sponsor for this week's episode, Rad Roller. As you know, we've talked about Rad Roller all the time on the 18 Strong podcast. They make some of the greatest soft tissue products that are on the market to be able to help you get your body moving better. Everybody's got to move better to golf better. That's kind of our philosophy around here at 18 Strong. And the more you can get your tissues and your joints and everything moving the way that they're supposed to, the better you're going to be able to swing that club, the less injuries you're going to have, and the lower your scores are going to be. So if you haven't checked out the Rad Roller products, go to radroller.com. You can find their whole suite of products there. They're very easy to take along with you on any kind of a golf trip or just to put in your gym bag and take with you to your gym so you can get some work done before or after your workout. So go to radroller.com. Be sure to use the code 18STRONG to get a discount on whatever products you purchase. Something I wanted to ask you, because I assume you were there at the President's Cup this past year. You had...
You know what? I didn't go.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No, I actually took that as my week off.
Really? Okay. Because I was going to ask you.
I was I had tour championships, came home Sunday, and then two of the guys went over there to President's Cup.
Right.
And I'm like, see you guys, have fun.
Because I was going to say, you would have been in both locker rooms having chapel in one. And
you'd have to pick one or the other.
Okay, I was going to ask what the situation was there, if you got to go kind of be on both sides of the fence there or not.
That's all right. I'm going home. You guys have fun. Enjoy it.
Right. I love it. All right. I want to ask you about a couple of these guys that you have, and kind of the years that they had, especially a guy like Kyle Stanley, who you said you kind of saw, coming up, and you kind of expected to see him win again.
Definitely, yeah.
And we from the spectator side, he's a guy that for some reason I kind of latched onto him and followed him a long time ago when he won, and then have just kind of followed him behind the scenes a little bit. What was it that you think, or what did you see that you were like, yeah, he's coming, it's coming back, that most of us didn't see because we didn't get to see him on TV on Sunday for the last couple of years?
Yeah, no, with him, it's a lot of perseverance. Just keep going. Don't give up. And the thing is, there really wasn't anything to give up on. It's just that there was a lot of expectations for him to now just continuously win. He almost won the week before, and then he comes out and he wins the following week. I mean, that's a big deal as far as back-to-back and your bounce back ability as well. Mm-hmm. But then, like any other player, you win one. Well, when's he going to win the next one? Unfortunately, it doesn't always happen. But the good thing about Kyle is he's one of the best ball strikers in the world. He's always been since he was a kid. And even when I moved to Washington here, he was already well known as a junior golfer. They were like, this kid's special. This kid's got something. He's gonna be a winner one of these days on tour. And he proved it. And the thing is with him, it's, again, like I keep saying, it's a process, but it was like, okay, let's step back here. There's a lot of expectation, but forget about that and just play your game. And if you watch his stats out there and you watch his rankings, he's always been near the top there. And he just needed another breakthrough year to kind of believe it, that he can do it. Myself and the rest of the team all believed he can do it. And it was just a matter of time. So you just have to make sure your player understands that he can do it as well, or she. And if you just kind of keep going at it, it's going to happen.
Well, then, you've got Chappell and you've got Adam Hadwin. And again, two guys that I've kind of followed because I know that, that working with Mark Blackburn and Jason Glass and just kind of knowing those guys. And so following some of the guys that they work with and knowing that you worked with them too. What have you seen something change in these guys now that they've won on the PGA Tour? You hear that a lot, that, after you get that first win, it almost lets them maybe relax a little bit or have a little more confidence. Have you noticed that, or is that something that you just think they've got it and they just continue with it?
No, there's definitely hunger to win again. And for sure, you want that. You want them to now work even harder. But at the same time, there's a little bit of, okay, I can relax a little bit. I know I've got my card secured for the next couple of years, and I've got my first win under my belt. Hopefully some of the people out there talking about it can kind of chill out for a little bit. But at the same time, you know what? You can't do that the rest of the season. You have to continue to play hard and continue to play your game. One of the biggest faults I kind of see out there is that somebody wins and then all of a sudden, oh, let's change my swing, or now let's try and do this even better. But if you think about it, everything you've been doing for the last how many years is what got you there. So don't change it. It's finally clicked and you're doing something right. So just continue on with it. And that's like your everyday golfer out there. You're golfing and you're like a 15 handicap, 25 handicap, and you kind of start to notice where you need a little more work. Hey, maybe it's my putting or maybe my short game. So I'm going to practice a little bit more on that every day. And finally, your handicap starts to get lower and lower. It's like, if it starts to get lower, oh, I'm not going to practice putting as much. Well, why not?
Right,
you know? It's like, let's change it. No, don't change it. Don't change what's working.
Well,
You know, and that's when it comes to the body. Like I kind of mentioned to you, if there's don't fix what's not broken.
right.
You know, you're just gonna wake something up.
Well, I was going to ask you, speaking about kind of the more of your average golfer, your regular golfer, what are some of the big issues that you see, or maybe the biggest mistakes that you see some of these guys and girls making when it comes maybe more to the fitness side, or just treating their body and how they approach the whole, getting better, not necessarily skill wise, but getting better for the game through working on their body?
Absolutely. I think that first of all, if they have, if you're an amateur golfer and you have an injury or something that's bugging you, don't let it linger. Ask for help right away, because the longer it's been there, sometimes the longer it takes to correct, if possible. But also that when it comes to training, do your research, find out who can really help you, whether they've got this certification or that certification. I don't really care what they have. It's a matter, do they understand the game? Do they understand what you want? And are they willing to work with whoever your team is? So even if you're a 20 handicap player and you are serious about working on your game, I do want you to have some sort of little team that's going to help you get there. And that should be your instructor, if you need some work done physically, your therapist, and your trainer to kind of get you in golfing shape. That helps you play continuously without being hurt. So that's kind of one aspect. Another aspect I see out there, which is kind of a problem, is more so let's say your high school or your college players. We do run into a lot of issues where we've got high school coaches who are trying to train the kids, and they don't really understand golf, or they don't really understand working out. They did their training 20, 30 years ago in the gym, and maybe they played football. So yeah, we're going to do all these exercises. And unfortunately, we see that in college too. And a lot of college players that come in through the door are ones who are being trained by, here's the wrestling coach or wrestling trainer. They're going to put you through some exercises. And the sad part is these college kids get hurt and you have to fix them up. And sometimes they're not going to be golfing once they're done college because they're just too messed up and it's too late.
Yeah, sometimes you just see even online some of the stuff either on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and you see these maybe group workout classes or something like that, and you're just kind of watching, shaking your head, like you said before. Even at the PGA Tour van, you're shaking your head. But at this lower level, it's because many clubs or many teams don't have the resources, so they, like you said, just have the football coach teaching these kids, kind of a group exercise class, and it is very important to make sure that you have somebody that can at least steer you in the right direction. If there was one suggestion that you would give somebody that's maybe kind of starting from the ground floor, they play golf but maybe haven't branched into any of the physical fitness side of it, where would you start them?
I'd say the first step to take, if you're just starting and you're like, hey, I want to get better at golf, and you already have an instructor, then go get a golf fitness evaluation. And whether that's through a medical professional or someone who is specializing in golf fitness, take a look at the body. Is there anything that you can do physically to kind of help your swing along? And I'll find that a lot of the beginners, advanced, it doesn't matter. Sometimes a lot of the things they're working on with the swing coach that they're trying to get through, and it's just frustrating. It's all body related. So you clean up how the body moves. It actually cleans up some of the swing faults, and it makes the instructor's life a lot easier. And you know what? It makes the golfer happier. Everyone's going to kind of win-win. at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Get everything moving better and just kind of get everything firing a little bit better. And it's funny how just working on some of those simple things, people, even without touching a club, can all of a sudden notice some big improvements in the way that they're handling themselves out on the course.
Oh, definitely. For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
With your martial arts training and background and implementing that so much into the work that you do with the golfers, how has that impacted kind of the mental side of the game? I mean, do you work on things with them out on the course that have kind of are tied into the background of what you've learned through your Taekwondo?
Definitely. And I would say sometimes it's just, honestly, and some of them will tell you, it's just the calmness. It's like, be calm. They might be throwing a club and panicking, and I'm there just kind of, okay, well, that's fine. I'm calm. Let's just keep going. You kind of give them that sense of peace for a minute. But I do go on the course with them, and I will walk practice rounds with them, whether we're just chit-chatting or whether we're working on something out there. I think if you can, and what I try and do is just instill that, hey, maybe you need to focus on this a little bit more, not so much technique, but just kind of a overall approach, whether it's being calm or what's the end goal or what are we trying to achieve here?
Sure.
Maybe you're struggling today and it's windy, and you're like, I can't get my swing going, or it's just not good. But it's like, no, your swing is perfect, but it's just windy. Accept it. Learn to accept that, and that's what it is, and play the wind, not play your shot that you're trying to perfect there, because I find that perfection in golf is very hard to achieve.
Right.
Yet the funny thing is that golfers are trying to achieve perfection, and it's very rare. It's very hard to get, and it's a fine line, fine balance. So thinking of that and thinking of the martial arts background, with Taekwondo specifically, there are tenets you follow, and tenets such as courtesy and integrity and perseverance and self-control and dominant spirit. I think all of those are good tenets for golf as well. Your self-control, whether you're going to throw this club sideways or you're going to tomahawk it down the fairway, or should I just hang on to it and we'll save it for the locker room?
Right.
Yeah.
Love it.
And yeah, I mean, it's still a professional sport. People are still watching you. So there's your courtesy and integrity. You got to handle yourself appropriately out there.
That's got to be so tough for these guys, knowing that there's a camera on you at all times, trying to find that balance between, okay, this is, and I think I've heard a couple guys talk about this. Justin Thomas, one in particular, is like, hey, part of me being a golfer is my fiery nature of, reacting. And if I'm just a robot out there, that's not going to serve me. And sometimes, the audience would prefer to see a little bit of that interaction. So how much of them kind of letting themselves go? And do you find some of them being fairly self-conscious in that at all?
I think that all of them are aware of what they do and how they react. And, it's just because it's not seen as much. So when you do see it on TV, it hits social media. It's like, sure. Oh, he swore, or he just threw this club, or now he broke this club. You should see what happens behind the scenes and what happens. It's crazy. But the good thing is you have to see it, because we all do it on the course. We've all had our moments, and it shows these guys are human, and really they're just like us out there. The only thing is that's their job. We play for fun, and we try and play as best we can. They're playing out there because that's their career. They don't play and they don't play well. Well, they don't get paid. They're going to need a different job. Mm-hmm. So to see them blow up a little bit from time to time, I don't mind. I like to see it, because if they contain it, imagine just keeping it down, pushing it down. One day it's just going to explode.
Yeah.
So let it happen. It all happens to us.
I think it gives them, lets us see the human side of them too, because usually we just see the perfect shot to 3 feet or the hole in one or whatever, but gives us a little feeling of, hey, they screw up too. They get mad. They get frustrated. Oh,
for sure. Because usually you're only going to see a good shot on TV or something that went horribly wrong.
Yeah. One or the other.
Right. And we love both. So
yeah, for sure.
Keep showing it. Yeah.
All right, before we get into a couple of the last questions of the podcast, I just want to know, do you have any predictions for this upcoming season for the stable of Golfletica? For the guys that you have, any particular predictions?
Oh, I got to be positive on that one. I think that the guys are on a good run, and I don't really see them faltering this coming season. I know they all deserve a break right now, and after the next couple of weeks, I think all of them are pretty much going to be done till January, which is nice. I think everyone needs a reset, restart, and have fun with family, friends, new puppies, things like that. But I think they should be able to continue on their hot streak for next year. The team as a whole is healthy and doing well, even though Jerry's got his aches and pains. He always does. And
to be expected on the Champions Tour, right?
It's to be expected on the Champions Tour. The 2 times I've gone out, I've had to almost just cover my ears sometimes as to what I'm hearing the guys doing, from this player had this many cortisone shots yesterday to this guy's taking this much Advil. It's just like, wow, it's it's pretty amazing. But I think everyone will have a good year. The young one, of course, Jon, he's young, he's fiery, he's hungry to win. And I expect him to continue to push it out there next season.
Yeah.
So it should be good. And Jerry, he's really only half committed this season because he still played PGA Tour events. So next year is just full year on the Champions Tour where he's 100% focused on it. And if he can win 2 this year, just kind of starting halfway, let's see what happens next year.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it just kind of seems like everybody's kind of trending upward. Every one of those names that you mentioned. So it'll be exciting to watch the guys this coming year and root for them. All right,
for sure.
Couple last minute questions for you here, Harry, before we go. The typical ones I ask everybody at the end of the show. First one is Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore?
Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore? I'm going to have to say, well, if my wife's listening, I'd have to say Caddyshack, but you know what? I'm going to have to say Happy Gilmore. And I think that's more so because of the hockey reference. Growing up in Canada, I get to see him putt with the hockey stick, and he wears the jersey and everything. That's pretty funny to see.
Nice,
like
but your wife would steer the other way, huh? She'd go Caddyshack.
Oh, 100% Caddyshack. Awesome. Yeah.
a little dissonance in the household. I like
That's okay. She's the better golfer, so she can kick my butt anytime.
All right, if you had a chance to pick a walk-up song to the first tee box, what would your walk-up song be? As if you were like a baseball player walking to the plate.
Oh, that's a tough one. What's my walk-up song? I don't know. We actually talked about that a few weeks ago with a few of the guys and thought that 17th hole at Scottsdale.
That would be perfect.
The big party hole, we thought we should have a walk-up song. I don't know what my walk-up song would be. I'd have to say, what would it be? It's going to have to be something quick and something fast. Yeah, almost like a song I'd listen to when I'm training for martial arts or something. Like I've Got the Power or something.
There you go.
I think that's an old one by Snap, I think.
That's right, Snap. Man,
yeah.
I haven't thought of that song in a long time. Awesome. That's a good one. I like that one. All right, if you had a chance to play 18 holes with anyone in the world, past or present, and you could play anywhere that you wanted, who would it be and where would you play? And I've kind of had people ask me a bunch of questions about this question, kind of framing it more like, who's an interesting person you'd like to spend 5 hours with on the golf course?
5 hours on the golf course? Huh. I would have to say, if I had to pick a course, first of all, it would probably be Pebble Beach. I've been there many times in a row, and I've walked the course with the guys so many times. I've just actually never played it, but I'm pretty sure I can caddy for you and tell you where to hit the ball.
Right.
But yeah, I'd play that one day. And as far as who I'd play with, I'd have to say one of my childhood heroes growing up doing martial arts is Bruce Lee. And
Nice.
Whether he can hit the ball or not, I wouldn't really care. It's more so as he's a philosopher, and all his ideas and thoughts and just the approach, whether it be, the beauty of this hole with the ocean along the side, or, hey, this is how I would approach this shot or how I'd hit this ball. I'd probably expect it to slice or something like that, but I'd wait for him to answer with something smart and just totally flip it so that, oh yeah, that actually was a good shot, even though it went OB.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I think that a round of golf with Bruce Lee is kind of what that question is meant for. Somebody that you would love to just kind of pick their brain for 5 hours and just kind of soak it in. Excellent answer.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Before we let you go, any last pieces of advice that you can share with the 18 Strong listeners, kind of following you and your guys? Any other words of wisdom you'd like to impart on us?
From the medical side, I'd just say, you know what, if you're struggling with your game or you want to work on your game, work on your body as well. It's okay to ask for help. You don't have to play with pain. Even if it's something that's sore or stiff, have it looked at. Because my goal is for you to play golf as long as you want to play golf. And that can happen. And when it comes to conditioning and exercise and things like that, listen to your body. You can find hundreds or thousands of great trainers out there who can help you easily. And if you two can communicate with each other and also communicate with your team, your game can just reach its maximum optimal performance. And it doesn't matter if you're a 20 handicap shooting your best or a scratch player. I want you to be healthy, have fun, and enjoy playing golf as long as you want to play.
Awesome. Perfect advice. Harry, once again, can't thank you enough for all the time that you have shared with us today, and we'll definitely be following Golfletica and all your guys this year. Looking forward to a couple more big wins from these guys.
Thank you. My pleasure. And keep swinging out there, everybody.
All right. Thanks for joining us this week on the 18 Strong podcast with Dr. Harry Sese. If you want any more information on the golfing doc, just go to our webpage, 18strong.com, the show notes page. You can find all the information from this show. You can find links to Harry's website. You can find his social media platforms all on there. Just go to 18strong.com, look up episode number 164 or search for Harry, and you will definitely find him there. Another quick thanks to our sponsors for this week's episode, the PGA Tour mobile app, which is definitely the easiest way to stay up to date with everything going on tour, and the Rad Roller products, which are our go-to when it comes to anything soft tissue related when we need to get those joints moving better to swing the golf club better. Once again, if you're not a part of our private Facebook group, the 18 Strong Movement, head over to Facebook and request to join, and we will gladly accept you with open arms to jump in on the conversation over there. We'll catch up with you again next week with a great guest. Train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong podcast at www.18strong.com. And remember, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.